John Murphy is an Irish animal lover living in Italy, selling e-bikes to hunters all over the world. You can't write that stuff. Banned from Facebook ads and Google AdWords, despite spending tens of thousands of dollars with them, John had to figure out another way to drive traffic to his dropshipping business's website. He did, and his six-figure annual turnover quickly went to 7, with the majority of his sales coming from his new organic traffic strategy. Fortunately for you and I, John shares his secret sources. Yes, there's more than one with us today. It's a Stop Relying on Facebook and Google Ads episode 596 of the 13-year-old award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of super smart marketing. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, and I have an insatiable curiosity for uncovering marketing ideas that help businesses just like yours to grow. How do I do that? Through in-depth conversations with successful business founders from all around the world. You, more importantly, are a motivated business owner ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire that it absolutely deserves to be. And that is exactly what we do around here, my friends. As per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Thank you for all the birthday wishes that have come through since I mentioned this podcast was 13 years old last week. Really appreciate it. That's the podcast being 13 years old, not me, although I can act like a 13-year-old sometimes. Hey, be sure to hang around after the interview to hear from a listener who's looking for some ideas on how to get more customers. A great listener voicemail was left and they posed that question. And a reminder to you to call me on the Small Business Big Marketing hotline on 0480 015 150 to tell me what's on your marketing mind. Maybe there's an idea you picked up from an episode, but I would absolutely love to hear from you. And now, on with the show. Righto, let's meet Irishman and animal lover John Murphy, who lives in Italy selling e-bikes to hunters. You heard right. An Irish animal lover living in Italy selling e-bikes to hunters all over the world. He started E-Bike Generation, an e-commerce dropshipping store, back in 2017 in order to quit his corporate job at 3M and create a more independent lifestyle. We all want a bit of that, right? Now, things were going along beautifully for a couple of years as John mastered the art of selling through Facebook ads and Google AdWords. Then, in just 1 week, without any notice or explanation whatsoever, both Facebook and Google shut him out in the same week. Following 2 solid days of freaking out, he picked himself up and for the next few months went deep into how to get quality traffic and sales without spending even $1 on pay-per-click advertising. Now, before applying his learnings, E-Bike Generation was doing around $300,000 a year. It's now doing multiple 7 figures, with most of John's sales coming through organic traffic efforts. Thankfully for you and I, John has captured all his learnings in a fantastic course. What a smart thing to do. That's an additional revenue stream for him as well. And in the second half of this interview, he reveals some of the key learnings, and they're really good. If you can't wait, I won't be offended whatsoever if you head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/596 and click on the link to his course. It's absolutely awesome. I've done it. And if you buy his course through my link, John is going to do a personalized 30-minute video looking at your website, explaining how you can implement immediately the learnings in his course. You're not going to get that anywhere else. Pretty good, eh? smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/596 is where you'll find the link to that course. Here's John explaining how an animal lover came to sell e-bikes to hunters.
It's a long road. I mean, it's not something you just pick, e-bikes for hunters. I took a while to get there. I guess when I went down the rabbit hole of trying to make money online, and I came across the drop shipping model and high end, like high ticket drop shipping specifically, e-bikes ticked a lot of boxes. That wasn't really wise. There are lots of issues with e-bikes, but I made it work. But right around 2017, 2018, when I chose e-bikes, I felt like everybody else had the same idea at the same time. And we were all selling the same e-bikes to the same people, same customers. It was all very cookie cutter, you know? Every store looked the same stock photos, same pricing, same brands. And none of the stores had any sort of character or anything special about them. So I decided to just try to find a demo, like a sub demographic amongst all of the people that might want e-bikes. And I landed on hunters just out of some little bit of research. The demographic sort of fits. The bikes required for hunting are more high end because they have to be a little bit more powerful, a little bit more sturdy, and well made. So the margins are a bit better. So it just made a lot of sense. Even though I'm not I've never hunted. I'm not even American. So
no interest in hunting. Out of interest, are you a vegetarian? That'd be funny.
I'm not a vegetarian. I am an animal lover. After spending a few years in forums with hunters, I understand them and I understand what they do and why they do it. And it's an identity for them. It's not a hobby.
Tell me about the research that you did to drill down from e-bikes into a category of users that need e-bikes. So what does that research look like? And why what part of it was so compelling that you said there's an entire business here?
Well, it was also the way the quickest way to your first sale in dropshipping is you build a store, you get suppliers, and then you start running ads on Google Shopping because it's the quickest way to the first sale. But electric bikes were popular. I mean, it's still growing. It's still a growing market. Not everybody's on board yet, but America is a big place. There's like 340 million Americans. So the audience is very, very, very broad. But what I found was that when I'm trying to speak to my audience, I realize my audience is elder people with maybe a bad knee or a bum ankle or something with maybe like lower back, that the cycling and is an issue, but an e-bike will be helpful. Or there are people that I just want to have a lower carbon footprint when they go to work every day. Some office people just want to, in the city, skip traffic.
That's e-bikes, but you've drilled it down into such a narrow niche. And I often talk about niches. A good niche is an inch wide and a mile deep. Every niche is an inch wide. That's by definition. But how did you know that it was worth mining? How did you know that the riches were there enough to support a full business?
Yeah, I just had enough information based on previous sales because I had about maybe 10 or 15 suppliers on board that are selling all of their brands. And I had two brands that were more marketed towards hunting. So these guys were hunters from hunting states in the US, and they catered to their people. So, you know, all the bikes were more powerful, fatter tires, more traction. And what I noticed was that those bikes were better quality. They were more expensive. So I knew that if I could sell just those bikes, I would have to sell less of them. And because they were better made, there were less issues afterwards as well. So I would be able to reduce the amount of customer service I need to do because I was doing it all myself. And I didn't need to get as many sales, which made my marketing a lot easier because I could talk to a hunter instead of trying to talk to everybody without being polarizing. Now I could be specifically polarizing and attract more hunters and repel everybody else. And it worked pretty nice.
So interesting, that whole concept of polarizing in marketing, because as a business owner, you know, you just want sales. You know, you want to sell as much as you can, as quickly as you can, for the best margin. Therefore, the best policy would be to try to be everything to everyone. But you and I both know, and the smart listeners listening also know that that's fraught with danger, and you end up being nothing to no one. So choosing hunting is interesting, particularly given you're not a hunter and you're an animal lover. How do you start to talk to hunters outside of, you know, you can target that in your social media ads, and we'll talk about that later, and the organic SEO and all that. But how do you literally talk hunters' language in blog posts or ads or content? Are you employing people to do that, or are you doing it yourself?
No, I've done it myself from the beginning, and it didn't come naturally. But what I noticed was they were coming to me, and they were just beginning to understand that there is the concept of hunting on an e-bike. Instead of walking 10 miles in with 15 kilos in a bag on your shoulder, or dragging a dead deer out on a piece of tarpaulin. So once I started talking to them on the phone, they were very open about why they needed it, but because it was a large investment, they would drill me with lots of questions and ask, but how much traction? Can it climb hills? What if I'm carrying a 200-pound deer on the back of the bike or in a trailer? Will it do it, or will the motor burn out? And because they had lots of questions, so it was a very steep learning curve. But I got to understand their needs and what the tool needed to do for them. Otherwise, it wasn't a good idea. And once I started understanding what their needs were, I started putting that information in front of them, so they would find that information up front. So I was answering their questions on product pages, in blog posts, and that became the wording and the theme of the whole concept of hunting on an e-bike.
It sounds incredibly simple, but what you did is extremely genius, which is just listening to the questions that are being asked by your prospects and your customers, actually responding to those questions, not only in live chats on your website or Facebook messages or whatever it may be, but actually then going, hey, I'm going to create content out of this. I'm going to create a seriously good FAQ section or knowledge center on my website. I'm going to create blog posts off the back of these questions. Because if that's what they're asking verbally, that's what they're typing into Google from a text point of view, and surely that's only going to be rewarded by improved rankings, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And it did take me a while to come to that conclusion, because it seems easy now looking back. But I remember thinking, I keep answering the same question all the time. I keep answering the same questions all the time. And instead of thinking that's the information, this is what I needed. So once I realized that if I can just make sure that the information is there, not only will I be answering less questions, the people can probably make an educated buying decision in a shorter time. And what I found was because I'm speaking specifically to hunters and everybody else is just being vanilla to everybody, the hunters didn't feel like they were being heard or their needs were not being met. But with me, even if they just read a piece of content, they felt like I understood them, which I do. So they did feel that they could make a more confident decision buying the same bike from me that they could have bought somewhere else. But giving them the information they need to make that decision just sort of takes the fear out of the purchase.
Do you ever find yourself getting caught out, John, where I think all of us can, at a top level, with a very thin veneer, talk about any topic we want to, right? But then when it gets time to go deep in a topic, has a hunter sort of confronted you and said, got into the real technical aspects of hunting, and at some point you've had to go, actually, I'm not a hunter, I'm an entrepreneur. Sorry.
Yeah, in the beginning, I did get my tail handed to me in a forum by hunters. So, because in the beginning, and maybe we'll get to it later, but I got suspended from running ads on Facebook and Google because e-bikes is a weird sort of category, and I had to get I had to get traffic to the website. So I started doing real sort of guerrilla sort of tactics, and I was in forums every day, and I was signing up to all of these hunting forums. But in the beginning, I felt like I needed to pretend to be a hunter. And now I only did it one time, and I'll never forget how it made me feel because it was awful. I went into this forum, and I don't even remember what I said, but I think I went in to get a backlink from the forum, and I went in and I said, hey, have you guys ever considered hunting on an e-bike? It's awesome. Here's a piece of content I found. And it took them probably 30 seconds to be like, are you even a hunter? And then somebody Googled me, found like a blog post about making money online, and they reposted it in the thread, and it was and I was like, oh my God, that's so bad. And I felt very cringy, like I felt icky. So I actually said to them, I didn't just disappear from that thread. I did reply to the thread and said, yes, I do sell e-bikes online to hunters. I try to, help you guys out. And yes, I do. I have, there are some blog posts of me where I was interviewed about making money online because I'm actively trying to quit my day job. I work for General Electric, and one day I hope to do this full time. And that's why I'm in here. And then everybody started going, oh, good for you. I hope it works out. And then I just quickly left the forum and never went back because it was tainted. And now when I join all of the other hunting forums that I'm a part of, and I'm a respected member of those forums, my name isn't like Hunter John or Wild Oak Murphy or anything weird like that. It's e-bike John. There's no pretending. I'm not a hunter. I sell e-bikes. Come to me. I'm going to be in the forum, so I'm not going anywhere. If you get a bum deal, I'm here for everybody to be exposed in front of. You can trust me. I'm just here to add value, and that has worked exceptionally well.
Well done to you. Honesty is always the best policy, John. As I tell my kids, don't lie, because then you don't have to remember what you said.
Exactly.
Now, John, we are going to spend a majority of this chat. You did get kicked off Facebook and Google AdWords, and that did lead you to needing to create free/organic content so you could continue to rank well in the search engines, and we will absolutely come to that. But I would love to understand just a little bit more about a drop shipping business. I actually haven't had a chat. 600 episodes into this or thereabouts, I actually haven't had a drop shipping chat. So for those of us who aren't educated in that world, could you just explain how your business works, which is called ebikegeneration.com. I'll preface it by saying, from what I understand, you hold no stock. All that stock is sent directly from the manufacturer or the brand or Amazon or whoever it may be who you use. You are responsible for the customer service and for the marketing and all that kind of stuff. So I guess that's a fair summation of drop shipping. What have I missed?
That's pretty accurate. Yeah. I mean, so if I want to sell e-bikes, for example, I built a store using Shopify, reach out to the e-bike manufacturers in the US or in the market that I want to be in, whether it's US, Australia, UK, or whatever. And I sign a contract, I become an authorized dealer as if I had a physical store. The only difference is that I don't buy any bikes up front. They don't ship them to me. I don't hold them in a warehouse or in my house. What I do is I advertise the bikes at the price that the brands dictate, and they dictate what the retail price is and what my cost is. And it's usually about 20% off retail, more or less. And that varies by brand. And once I get a sale, let's say you go onto my website now and you order a bike using your credit card, Shopify captures the payment, I get paid. I turn to whichever supplier that you picked, whether you picked brand A, I'll then send an email to brand A and say, this customer ordered this bike. When it ships to him, please send the tracking number to me, and they debit my credit card for the wholesale cost.
Is that automated, or do you once you're alerted by Shopify that you've got a sale, then are you manually then contacting the manufacturer of that bike, or is that automated?
Well, because I sell high ticket items, I only have maybe 1,000 orders a year, so it's only a couple of orders a day. So I have a guy, one of my customer service guys in the Philippines. He'll see the order come in and he'll just forward the email details to my suppliers. So there are guys that I know that sell $20 gadgets and fidgets and stuff, and they have automated Zapier and Google Sheets and all very complex systems to automate as much as possible. So it can be done, but I just haven't needed to do that.
Got it. Just out of interest, it's called ebikegeneration.com, which says nothing about hunting.
Yeah.
What am I missing?
Well, that's because I found the hunting niche after I was trying to.
That's really interesting. So you've gone broad. You said this is the website for anyone in any generation of any age that's interested in an e-bike, but you've kept the domain and sort of niched it down. I mean, if you go to the homepage, there's some pretty cool sort of hunting gifs and things of hunters using e-bikes. That's quite interesting. I would have thought the better option would have been to get a domain that, hunting e-bikes or something like that, which speaks directly to your niche. Were you lazy? Were you tight? Am I wrong?
I still don't know whether it was a good decision or not. I actually bought the domain ebikehunter.com and electrichuntingbike.com. And what happened was I had started some of my SEO efforts started working, and I was ranking in position 1 for a lot of my search terms for blog posts. And I was afraid I was just going to set myself back a year by making like a dramatic branding change or URL change and stuff. And then the longer I leave it, the less likely I was going to go and then make that commitment to change. And it just never happened.
Have you redirected those other domains, eBike Hunter and whatever else you mentioned, back to eBike Generation, or they're just sitting there?
So I did redirect the domain ebikehunter.com. But what I did with electrichuntingbike.com was I created an affiliate website, like a separate blog WordPress website that talks about hunting on an e-bike. And I just link to my store like an affiliate, except I just don't pay myself the affiliate commission.
So, John, you relied on paid traffic, Facebook ads, Google AdWords. Then in 1 week in 2019, you get banned from both Google and Facebook. What happened?
So they don't tell you really what happens, but I figured it out, I think, later. So Google shopping policies for e-bikes specifically is a bit strange. What happens is that Google considers them vehicles, and they have this really, there's like an exception to the policy where it says electric powered bicycles are an exception to the vehicle policy as long as the top speed doesn't exceed 15 miles per hour. However, the slowest e-bike goes 20 miles per hour. So like 20 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour, 40 miles per hour. So I and everybody else running Google shopping ads were in violation, and I just never realized. I never paid enough attention to it.
Whoa. And then Facebook followed suit.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 days later. Now, Google at least gave me some sort of a suggestion that the information on my blog post was so I could go and try to figure it out. Facebook, I mean, it was like, talk to the hand. I never even heard back from them, never got a reply. And Facebook actually tricked me into it as well, which was strange because every time I created a new product or created a new blog post on Shopify, I had like the Facebook pixel linked to Shopify. And I would get this like a sort of a suggestion from Facebook and said, hey, why don't you boost this post? Like throw $10 into it and get some traffic. And I never do that because people say like boosting posts don't actually help. But I thought, sure, what the hell, let's try. So I spent like $20 boosting a new page I created, and it was to a specific product. And then as soon as I boosted it, they suspended me. So I felt it was a bit like entrapment. I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah, that's right. We got you. Yeah. They were hunting you, John.
Yeah, well.
It's an interesting thing. I mean, was eBike Generation a side hustle for you, or was that your primary business? And if it was your primary business, how did you handle that? Because that's kind of scary. All of a sudden, all of your customer attraction strategy's been taken away from you.
It was scary and very depressing, really, because I was still working my day job. I worked in finance for GE, and I was building the store in the evenings and the weekends and answering the phone in the US on US times. So up until midnight, then I'd go to sleep. And I was really, really close to that, like very small monthly profit. I think I was looking for $5,000 net profit. And when I got to that point, I could quit my job and I could try to then focus on this full time. And I really, really, really wanted to get out of my day job. And once I realized there was hope that this side hustle could actually work, I really resented my job because then I felt like I was wasting 8 to 10 hours a day doing this other thing when I could be doing this other thing for myself. So when the rug got pulled out from under me and all my traffic dried up, I think I didn't speak for like 2 days because I was thinking, maybe I'm not actually going to be able to quit my job. Maybe I can't do it for another 2 years and I'm stuck here now. And I was completely over my job, my day job. I hated it. I was like telling people I was going to quit soon. And then all my traffic went away. And I was like, but that's the only way I know how to get traffic. So it was a very, very cold shower.
I have a word for you on this podcast. You are a cubicle escapee.
Oh,
And there are many listening. There are many, I started this podcast 13 years ago and I thought, it'll be ideal for, obviously for business owners and marketers. But then there's this subset of my listeners, John, that are working for the man or woman in some big conglomeration, some big corporation, and they listen to this podcast in their cubicle, desperately wishing to escape. So, you're one of the success stories, albeit with a couple of bumps along the way. So you spend 2 days with your head in your hands, going, "Well, that was a disaster," and probably with respect, a rookie mistake to put all your eggs in one basket and rely on paid advertising, PPC advertising to build the business. So after day 2. You pick yourself up. What did you do?
well, I started trying to figure out how to get traffic without being able to run ads. And I'd heard, like I knew other people in dropshipping were doing it, but not many people, because when you take a dropshipping course or you learn how to do it, those courses all want you to get your first sale as quickly as possible. So to validate the courses, content and stuff. So they teach you how to get a store, find products, recruit suppliers, and run your first ad campaign. And that's it. Nothing afterwards. So I started reaching out to people that I knew were doing really well. And I just started annoying them on Facebook saying, how much will it cost for an hour of your time? I just want to ask you some questions. If I ask any dumb questions, hang up and I'll still pay you. I just need 30 minutes or 1 hour of your time, and name your price. And a couple of people were really helpful.
Who were they? What type of people? Are we talking, and I'm using air quotes here, social media gurus, or actually business owners whose Facebooks you really respected?
Yeah, these were e-com dropshippers in high-ticket dropshipping that were in the same Facebook group for e-com dropshippers, but they were clearly veterans. They knew what they were doing. They were the ones that were giving all of the value in the groups, and they were clearly doing pretty well. So they were in the place where I wanted to be. So they weren't coaches, but I figured, they don't need to be if we can just have a conversation. And 2 of those guys were extremely helpful to me. And one of them was, telling me to go deep. That's why I was looking at hunters as well. And the other guy was like, well, SEO, of course. I was like, well, what's that? It's like just blog posts. Because in Shopify, there is a blog section. But e-com dropshippers, or a lot of e-com stores really, they just fill up that space not because they want, with the goal of getting organic traffic, but with the goal of making it look like a more legitimate website. Because if you have an empty blog and there's there are no blogs to view, it just looks like half finished or something. So people will just write 1,000 words, occupy the blog space, but it doesn't have any use. It's not a functioning piece of the store. But one guy that became my coach, then we just went really deep into generating content and the purpose behind the content as well, and just started from there.
It's so see-through when you're reading content that is filler content. It really is. 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, you would go, you'd often read blog articles or content on websites, and it was clearly written for the search engine, for the bots, to identify keywords, repeated over and over and over again, not written for the human. It was so see-through. And even today, there are still some doing it. So you've gone deep and actually really creating quality content. So, okay, that's interesting. So all of a sudden you've gone, can't do paid advertising, need to create organic content that is going to do the same, play the same role and have me rank well in the search engines for key terms. So one of those ideas, and we'll go through your course, which you've now put together, you've kind of pulled all those learnings together into a course. One of them was blogging, and you are very consistent in your blogging, I notice, on e-bike generation. You're putting something out weekly or fortnightly. Blogging's interesting, John. There's probably business owners listening that think blogging is something from the past, but it's still such an awesome way to share the mountain of knowledge that you as a business owner is standing on. It's an awesome way to to create great content, compelling content, and the search engines love it. So it's very much still a very powerful strategy.
Yeah, and Google are getting very, very good at giving people what they need, not necessarily what the content written for algorithms is created. It's getting a lot smarter, and it's able to identify really helpful content rather than content with all of the technical flags that a computer would like an algorithm would like. And the better Google gets at producing helpful educational information, the more the good content is going to be rewarded. And especially when you're selling expensive items like I am, the research and the buyer journey is very long. It's not like a $50 impulse buy that you saw some like a viral TikTok video. And, these are people that are figuring out, is it worth the investment? If I'm going to spend this much money, which one is best? Is it bike A, bike B, bike C, or bike Z? And then there's the price. So there's a lot of research that goes into it. So the more helpful information that I can put out there, the more likely they're going to find me, trust me, and then be confident when they are ready to make a decision that it's the actual right decision.
So, okay, let's go through some of these things, because I love the fact that you've come up with a solution to create organic content that ranks well. Out of interest, you are selling 1,000 bikes, or you are selling 1,000 bikes a year. In creating this organic content, have you seen your sales go up significantly or maintain at the level that were costing you a lot through paid advertising?
Well, when the year, my 2018 was the first full year that I was only running paid traffic, and I did like 330K in sales. In 2020, I did over 3 million in sales, and that was exclusively organic traffic. So, because SEO does take a while. 2019 was like 1 million in revenue. 2020 was 3 million in revenue, and then last year was around the same. This year was slower because the wheels fell off in some aspects of the world, so sales are slower and it's noticeable. But it's mostly organic.
Now, for listeners, just a reminder, we're talking to John Murphy. John Murphy has a dropshipping business that sells e-bikes to hunters. Also out of interest, John's in Italy. He's Irish and sells e-bikes all around the world, which I think is awesome. And he's gone and created this course that will show you how to create organic content simply and easily, and it will stop you from spending a fortune on paid advertising. Now, if you just want to go and buy the course without this special offer from John, you can do that. It's at ecomseoformula.com. But if you actually buy through the link over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/596, that's the episode number, then John has so very kindly offered to do a 30-minute personalized video on your website showing what you're getting wrong and what you could do to get it right. So that's really kind of you, John. smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/596. Does that, the learnings that you're about to share with us in creating organic content, John, does it apply beyond e-commerce stores? Could an accountant, a chiropractor, a masseur use these strategies?
Absolutely. In fact, the process that I learned, I didn't get them from e-commerce. I had to bring them over to e-commerce. I stole it from the affiliate marketing websites, because when I was in the middle of my research phase of how the hell do I get organic traffic to my website, I started stalking, I started hanging out in like Facebook groups for affiliate marketers, because I noticed they were ranking on page 1 for their blogs. And I was thinking, I have to figure out how they do it, because they only get paid if they can send traffic to Amazon, and they have to be on page 1 to do so. So they were doing all the things that if I could bring over to e-commerce, make a few tweaks, I could, instead of sending people to Amazon, I'd sell them to my product pages. But if you've got like a chiropractor business and you're putting out really helpful content about, like stand-up desks or the best way to sit if you work from home, or quick and easy exercises to do to relieve pain at the back of your neck, or whatever the content could be, and then you could direct them to your offer, or your like a landing page where come in for a free consultation, or whatever it is. It's all about like just getting people to your website through helpful content, getting them then to an offer, and whether that's call us and we'll help you, or call for a free quote, or here's a free yoga lesson, or whatever the offer is.
I've written a book, which I don't think you know about, called The Boomerang Effect. And the entire book is all about helpful content. And it's awesome to hear you even use that phrase, because as business owners, it is incumbent upon us all to be more helpful in our marketing. You got two choices, and neither are wrong, but far too many go down the push angle of marketing, which is buy from me, buy now, end of financial year sale, product price, which is a role for that. But what about the pull side of marketing, where you pull people towards you because you're being super helpful through blog posts, through answering questions of those who contact you and turning that into content, and just helping people make a more informed purchase decision? It's not hard.
Yeah. It seems easy. Like I know there's a good example on YouTube. There's this chiropractor who makes a lot of videos, and he's really famous on YouTube now because he goes around cracking people's backs. Like he gets them on the thing and he puts that Y strap on and he pulls them, and you hear the crack, and you see the person lying there going, "Oh my God, that was wonderful." And because I'm so used to seeing him doing it, I know his name, I know the state where he is, and if I'm ever in the US and I've got a sore back,
you're there. I'm
gonna go to him. I don't know how much he charges, but like he's already convinced me that he's the guy.
I interviewed a chiropractor like that years ago. They walk a fine line, because depending on what country you're in, you're actually not allowed to do that. But I did interview a fellow in Melbourne, Australia, who was doing that, and he was booked out 12 months ahead because of these videos. And again, walking a fine line, sort of before, here comes a patient walking in, that's the before stuff. What's wrong with you? Okay, let's treat you. Now you're better. That's the after stuff. And yeah, sometimes you're not allowed to do that. But listen, by the by, let's look at this course that you've created. And I just want to get a couple of tips as we work through the 4 modules that form part of this course. Module 1, you talk about skyscraper content and silos. What do you mean? And give us an example of how we can apply that immediately.
Okay, so the skyscraper content is basically it's the biggest and most helpful, most informative piece of content for your niche, and that should be the be all and end all, most important piece of content on your website. And that answers all of the questions. It debuffs, it is the word, all of those like common misconceptions. It's the introduction to the whole niche in general, like what is an electric bike, or how to hunt on an e-bike. For in my case, for example, it's basically everything on the kitchen sink. So everything needs to go in there. It just needs to be the most robust piece of content on that topic.
It doesn't matter what form it takes, I guess. It could be a written blog. It could be a series of videos. It could be a piece of audio, I'm guessing, although Google seem to be able to index the written words still better than visual or audio content.
Yeah. So, for Google search, when people are on Google and they're typing in, they're going to get like the search results, and those are usually web pages with content on them. Since 2020, 2021, Google have deliberately started adding YouTube results on the first page. Even before they decided to put YouTube results on the Google page 1, it was still the second largest search engine. But now they've deliberately started giving video a place on page 1, even if you didn't search on YouTube for that video. So because they understand that it's important for them to supply the best piece of information, whatever shape or form that comes in. But the skyscraper piece of content is specifically words on a website. And that could include images and video. And usually the type of content usually depends on what your niche is. So for example, when in e-commerce, and in my niche specifically, but in the broader e-commerce, Google tends to rank on page 1 very good, helpful content that usually take the form of a listicle, like top X for Y, or top product for best use case, or something like that. and they do very well. So if that's what you find in your niche on page one, Google is already rewarding those pieces of content because they're on page one. So you just need to do it like that, but better.
John, that piece of content and looking at ebikegeneration.com, first two questions, which is your skyscraper content on that website? And as you think about the answer to that question, can it simply be like any other blog post on your website, or does it need to be a white paper that is, 16, 20, 30 pages long and goes quite deep? Yeah, so two questions there.
So it's not just like any other blog, because it will be just by the nature of being the most helpful piece of information on that topic, it will naturally be bigger. But usually it should be just the biggest, but it's not necessarily just about word count. The word count is important, but if you're putting everything, including the kitchen sink, in terms of information, it's going to just be a big behemoth. The idea is that if your piece of skyscraper content answers every doubt and question and gives all of the information that the reader is getting, they don't have to go elsewhere to find any more information because it's all on that page.
What's the title of your skyscraper content on eBike Generation?
So I've got a piece of content, and this year the title is Top 11 Electric Hunting Bikes for 2022. Next year it will have a slightly different title, just because of the year.
I would have thought that. Let me challenge you on that. Obviously, you're right. I wouldn't. What would I know? But as a layman, I'd go, there's not hunters out there. There's not enough hunters out there actually wondering what the top e-bikes for hunting are. I would have thought the more pertinent question that is being asked more often is, how do I make my hunting experience easier? Is that, you know what I mean? So and all of a sudden they're going to be directed through your skyscraper content to e-bikes, which most of them, and I did speak to a hunter on the weekend who didn't even consider the idea of buying an e-bike.
Yeah, so there's a lot in that question, and it is a very good question. And the reason why I don't have that type of information as the main piece is because there are so many facets to hunting. There's the different types of animals, the law, the legalities behind it, the gear you need, and most hunters aren't even aware of e-bikes. So by creating that piece of content as the be all and end all, I would probably repel 99% of all hunters, because that's not what they were looking for. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get in front of the people that have become aware of e-bikes for hunting and are starting to research the concept to see if it's a viable option for them. Because while Google Shopping, the conversion rate is low, organic is very, very, very low. So the people that I need to get organically need to be already half convinced that maybe it's an option for them. And even though that's not a huge portion, like monthly search volume for the term electric hunting bike is less than 3,000 searches a month. It's a very small thing. But 2 years ago, it was 0. In 2 years, it could be 10,000. And if I'm the number one result for the last 2 years and I plan on staying there, they're going to keep finding me. And if I have the brands that are selling e-bikes for hunting, the actual brands themselves, they're spending like hundreds of thousands a year on marketing. They're making the concept, they're putting the concept in front of hunters, and the hunters go and start their research and they find me. So that's the goal.
Tell me about one of the things that you said earlier about this skyscraper content is that you need to identify, and it's very easy, go to Google, do the search and see who comes up first. They're creating the best skyscraper content for that search right now. You say, well, then you just need to do it better. So from a content creator point of view, that makes sense. I go, okay, well, I could probably add a bit more content here. I could be a bit more verbose in the way I answer this question. I could put a video in there, whatever it may be. I guess then I think I've answered my own question, but how did Google know that? How did Google know that that is better content than what they're already serving up as the number one organic search result on page one?
There are certain triggers, let's say, and it's not so much on a technical SEO aspect, but it's just more like Google are getting a lot smarter about understanding which piece of content seems to answer the question better. Like, for example, 3 years ago now, when I published it was the top 7 electric hunting bikes for 2019, because that was the original title. It was literally just a list of the top 7 electric hunting bikes, and there wasn't much content. It was like paragraph intro. Today we're going to show you about, and then boom. And the reason I did that, well, for one, I didn't understand how SEO worked, and 2, that's what all of the other content on page 1 was. And then when I realized I just need to make it better, it actually wasn't very hard, because nobody was putting any helpful information in. And the piece of content has evolved over the years. And now if you look at it, there's about 4,000 words between the title and the first time I list one of those bikes, because there's a lot of information in between.
Things to consider, criteria to apply, all that kind of stuff you need to sort of cover off before you go, okay, now here's the list, which can be frustrating for the reader because they just want the list. But those who, I would have thought that those who are really close to a purchase decision are going to take the time and read the 4,000 words, because it's a high involvement purchase decision. You seem to know what you're talking about. They know less than you. So it's a marriage made in heaven. Okay. We now understand skyscraper content. Remember, guys, you can get all of this over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/596 and access to John's course. And he's going to do a 30-minute review, personalized video review if you buy on that link. John, your next module talks about the Dream 100. What are you talking about?
So the Dream 100 is a concept that I learned from Russell Brunson. It wasn't his concept, but he did make it famous in Ecom Ecom Secrets, or one of his books. And the Dream 100 concept is basically a way of just researching online, making a list of 100 or 200 or whatever of all of the dream X, like dream influencers you want to work with, or the 100 blogs you want to get a backlink from, or the ideal affiliates you want to work with. And it's basically just identifying opportunities. And then what you do with those opportunities later, it's either, do you get on somebody's email list? Do you rent banner space on their homepage? But it's the research of identifying those opportunities.
You're identifying strategic partners.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're hoping for amplification from them.
Yeah. And I've got hundreds of affiliates now, all writing content, ranking on page 1, and linking to my site, because I found them by doing that sort of research. And I found blog posts or blogs about hunting where I can cooperate with those guys. I can get on their email list and send an offer to their email list, access that I wouldn't normally have, or I could write a guest post.
How do you do that successfully? Because, as a podcaster in the small business marketing space, I get emails every single day of the year, multiple emails saying, essentially, can I please have a backlink on your website? I'll provide content. I'll do this. I'll do that. And I would say 99.9% of the time I delete them and don't respond. How do you cut through that noise?
Well, so I get about 10 or 15 of those emails every day as well, because people think I'm a blog and they want, let's exchange links, or how much, so everybody wants a backlink from me as well. And I also just scan over those things and then quickly delete. But when I reach out to these blogs, at least in hunting, it's usually a hunter that's documenting his stuff. It's usually not somebody that has a business idea about getting links and organic traffic. It's usually something that started in a very organic, genuine way, and it's a bit of a passion project. Some of them have then evolved into affiliate marketing and try to monetizing and stuff. But a lot of people are just genuinely open. Like if I reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'm John from eBike Generation. I sell e-bikes to hunters. And I've noticed that we have an overlap in our visitors. And I may say something like, I noticed on similarweb.com that people are going from my website to your blog, or vice versa as they click through and stuff. So I was thinking maybe there's some way that we can work together. And I say, maybe if you have an email list, there are certain checks I do before Like when I'm identifying the Dream 100, if I see a blog, I'll check to see if they're aggressively trying to capture my email, they probably have a strong email list and they're probably doing something with it. And if that's the case, then I'll take that angle and I'll say, look, I'd love to maybe get in front of your audience, since they already seem to be aware of both of us, and how could we make that happen? Maybe I can offer a special discount to your email list, so you have something to offer them, or you can become an affiliate of my affiliate program. You email their list, and then maybe we can work together that way. So there's usually something for both of us. It's not usually just please give me a backlink because you're in my niche.
Yeah, which there's a lot of emails I get that do that. Like, can I just have a backlink? We should actually, for those who don't understand the importance of backlinks, and I'll start, John, you can correct me and embellish what I say, but a backlink is another website out in the web who links back to your website. And from Google's perspective, it's a bit of a popularity contest. So if Google stick their head up and look around and notice that, I don't know, I'm just picking a number here, wow, 50 websites all in the same kind of industry that I'm in are pointing back to my website, then my website must be ever so slightly popular. So therefore we'll rank you higher. They put a bit of weight to that, right? Is that how you see a backlink?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a seal of approval from a third party that's not affiliated with you. The more relevant to your niche, the more weight it holds. So it's not like one backlink equals one vote. Some backlinks, like I've got backlinks from very high authority domains like Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazine, stuff like that. But I would really like a medium strength backlink from a veteran hunting website, because Google recognizes that there's relevancy there as well, and that carries a lot of weight. So it's not just backlinks from any website you find, but the more relevant, the better.
That's a good point. There are higher authority there are websites that carry higher authority. Any .edu website, any gov website, which good luck getting a backlink on a gov website. But and then as you say, there are those smaller websites that don't have the authority, but they're still important because they are in your niche and they are specialists in their field. So, okay, module 2 of your course, Dream 100, it's about list making. It's about how am I going to approach that list. Module 3 then talks specifically about backlink strategies. Are you actually providing ways of approaching website holders that have, the backlinks that you want to get hold of?
I actually enjoyed recording the backlink module the most, because that's when the wheels start turning and I get very excited about all the things. And I think there's 3 or 4 videos, and each video has like 5 or 6 different backlink strategies that I use. So it's not like every backlink strategy I've heard of. It's just the backlink strategies that I know that work, that are gaining traction, that I do. And it's very, very helpful. So like there's strategies in there about getting like an EDU backlink. There's the backlinks by creating infographics for other websites and then asking them for credit. And there's a lot. I think there's maybe 15 backlink strategies in a module alone.
It'd be fair to say, John, and there is one more module I want to cover with you, and it's a conversation with someone else for another time on this podcast, and I have had it before, but you can't do all this by yourself. As a business owner, you've already mentioned you've got someone in the Philippines, you may have a team in the Philippines, but this is where all of a sudden having a virtual assistant, whether they be in the Philippines or local or wherever it is, but having someone who can focus on this stuff, creating content, approaching website holders, owners for backlinks, following up, making sure that it happens, making sure that there's the right anchor text, making sure that it bumps off to the right page on your website, all that, creating infographics. I mean, we can't do it ourselves, and that's cool. You can create some of the special content yourself, the skyscraper content, but yeah, it all of a sudden opens up that whole I need a VA conversation, right?
Yeah. Like when you think about all of the hats you have to wear in the beginning, it's very overwhelming. And I did actually suffer burnout for a little not in the beginning, but when I got to a stage where I just couldn't do it all myself anymore, and one morning I was doing really well. So like I just had a really strong month. I think my best sales month, and it was like the first of September in 2020, and I was having breakfast with my wife, and I started crying, and I was like, I don't know why I'm crying, and my wife actually says, "You're burnt out. You can't keep doing it like this," and it was just it was very. It's hard. Like it's hard to not do it all yourself because you know best, you know. But once you start giving away some of the things,
control freak.
yeah, and we all are because we all start doing it ourselves. And then when we start like giving some of it away, we want it done the way we've been doing it all the time, and it's very hard in the beginning to give up control and to realize that there are probably people that can do that one specific thing better than you can. Like I did for a very, very long time. For way too long, it was just me. I did everything myself, and it was insane. And once I gave up customer service, because that's like a 40-hour a week job right there. Once I gave up customer service, I could relax and do things better or just plan things better. But now I've got a team of like 5 people.
No one wants to be a burnt-out business owner, and no one wants a burnt-out business owner. And a promise to my listeners that in an upcoming episode, I will cover again that whole concept of outsourcing and getting a VA, a virtual assistant, and how you can best use them to grow your business. John, just very quickly, the last module on your e-com SEO formula course is all about technical SEO, which is the boring bit, but it's actually really important. We're talking, I guess, metadata. And, you know, making sure that each page of your website is correctly labeled so that Google knows what they're looking at. You're basically helping Google index your website, right? Is that what technical SEO is all about?
That's exactly it, yeah. I mean, you can't get to page 1 just on technical SEO. You know, it has to be excellent content, but there's no point in, you know, running the race with your legs tied. So technical SEO these are all of the signals that Google can better crawl the content to understand better how relevant it is and how good it is. And if it's very good and you're making it easier for Google to crawl the website, you're just making it easier for Google to make an educated decision. So it's also very important. And one caveat is I'm really not a technical SEO person. There are still things that I probably could do better on a technical SEO level. But these are all the things that I learned afterwards that I should have done from the beginning. So I've put that module in there just to say, so now that you're creating the content, do it right from the beginning. So you're not like me trying to go back and then edit like 200 pieces of content.
You know, it's crazy what we don't know as business owners. And again, probably what a part of the reason this podcast exists is to bring this information to the small business owning population. But that technical stuff, yeah, it is boring, but it's really important. And I guess, you know, primarily understand that Google is basically a piece of software that have these bots or spiders or whatever you want to call them that go into your website, and they don't see a website. They see however many pages that website contains. So if your website has 100 pages, that's 100 opportunities for Google to index your business. And in order for them to do that effectively, you've got to get the technical SEO stuff right. Boring, it's metadata, it's filling out some stuff in the back end of your WordPress or your Shopify or whatever it is, whatever content management system that you are using, but it's really important. And again, you will find that the listener, the business owner, will find that in John's course, which again, smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/596. And John has, if you buy through that link, John has very kindly offered to do a 30-minute personalized video on your website and your business and how you could be doing your SEO better. So confronting, but I'm sure very loving at the same time, John.
I mean, I'm excited. So also the more websites I look at, the more I can learn about what people are doing wrong, and it just makes it easier for the next person that comes in and asks me. So, you know, and I can actually create more content when I see what all of the websites are doing wrong as well. So it helps. It'll enrich the course. So,
hey, John, awesome story, mate. We've not only talked about niching, which is a passion of mine, we've learned about drop shipping, and you've given us all this SEO gold. So thanks, brother. And it's now mid-morning in the southern part of Italy. So go and get yourself a coffee and a little pastry and get ready for a nice pizza and pasta, I suppose.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm going to have a nice coffee now and take it easy.
I love
go
it.
outside, and I'll leave you to the rest of your evening. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I love having these conversations.
Well, there you go, team. E-bike generation founder and now SEO legend, John Murphy. If you have any interest whatsoever in getting your business on page one of Google without paying for ads, so that'd be all of you pretty much, then grab his course. You'll find the link over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/596. And here's the kicker. If you buy it through that link, John will provide a personalized 30-minute video in which he'll identify key areas of your website where you can apply his traffic generating strategy immediately. And you're not going to find that anywhere else. So smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/596, you'll find a link to buy John's course. My biggest takeaway from that chat, be helpful in your marketing. I know. I bang on about it all the time. I've written a book about it, The Boomerang Effect, and I have a whole keynote presentation dedicated to it that I must have delivered 500 times. It just bloody works. Be helpful. I'll get off my high horse now. Oh, and I also loved how John went about defining his niche. Very clever. More of us need to do that. Stop trying to be everything to everyone. Let me know what grabbed your attention from a chat with John. Or maybe you just want to tell me what's on your marketing mind. Either or, give the Small Business Big Marketing Hotline a buzz on 0480 015 150. Just like listener and crime scene cleaner Phil McGurk did.
Good afternoon, Timbo. My name is Phil McGurk. I've just started up a business called CARSI, which is the Cleaning and Restoration Science Institute. We specialise for the small to medium-sized businesses. I've been listening to your podcast now for probably going on 2 years, 2.5 years. I do have some issues moving forward with CARSI. I've got plenty of information there ready to go, but I lack the skills of marketing. And this is one of the things that I'm trying to get to the small and medium business people that I talk to. I guess what I'm trying to ask, Tim, is with a new business that sort of is not competing with too many people in the market, trying to get that your name out into the market, into a specialised field. They're not even specialised sometimes. It's for the majority of the cleaners throughout Australia, New Zealand, or wherever they might be listeners. We do have, I do have a podcast as well, and we have some listeners from the US. I'm stuck in a spot now trying to get moving, I suppose. So, Timbo, I love what you do. I think it's great. As somebody that would like to reach out and maybe even have a look at maybe being on your podcast. We specialise in a few things as well. I have another business that specialises in crime scene cleanups, biohazard decontamination, a lot of good stuff, and that's going really well. But I really want to push into this education side of the market because I feel there's a great big hole there. So, Timbo, thanks for your time. Thanks for your great podcast that you do, the people you get on, the discussions. It really inspires someone like myself to try better as well. So check us out at www.carsi.com.au, CARSI. And thanks for all your listeners as well. Great stuff. See you in the new year, mate. Happy Merry New Year.
Phil McGurk, thank you so much, brother. Okay, buddy, here's a few ideas on how to get more customers for CARSI, and I'm focusing on your website. First of all, listen to today's episode. That'd be a really good start, and buy John's course. It is a no-brainer. Now, the CARSI name, Phil, it's a little obscure, both as an acronym. I'm not a big fan of acronyms as business names, and spelt out fully, CARSI meaning the Cleaning and Restoration Science Institute. I don't know, just not doing it for me. I'd encourage you, Phil, to take a listen to episode 554, where I have a deep conversation with naming expert Alexandra Watkins, all about how to name a business, a product, a service, a brand, a promotion, whatever it is you're looking to name. And it is never too late to change your name, your business's name, scary as that may sound. Other ways to get more customers, Phil, be clearer, especially on your homepage about exactly what it is you offer. CARSI doesn't say it. The Cleaning and Restoration Science Institute doesn't say it. So maybe a tagline or something that makes it a bit clearer. Replace your 16-minute video on your homepage. Way too long, man. Way too long. With a 2-minute one, and cut to the chase of what you do. And given the Kasi logo is in the background, this is a visual gag, but it's true. Be sure your head, Phil, is not covering the sea, because right now on that video, all we see is the word arsey, which did make me laugh. I'm sorry. Always lead with value, not salesy info. Remember, as consumers, we listen to one radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? And remove the search bar and your social media logos from the top right of your website. Man, that is prime real estate. Replace that info with your contact details or a current special offer. Make it work harder. That is a very important space, a very important part of your website. Add podcasts to your nav bar. You've got a podcast, add it. Beyond your website, check out Joe Polish. Joe Polish is an ex-cleaner who's created courses to help cleaners grow their business. He's been around for 100 years. Sorry, Joe, probably not that long, but you know what I mean. And finally, Phil, identify your top 100 prospects and approach them directly. Develop some really clear communication to those people who are most likely to buy from you. As Seth Godin said in the interview I did with him a couple of years ago, every business just needs 1,000 raving fans. So start with that top 100 prospects that are really important to you. Everyone else, be like Phil and call me on the Small Business Big Marketing hotline 0480 015 150. Next week, we catch up with none other than Dare Jennings, the founder of not one, but two iconic brands in Mambo and Deus Ex Machina. We have such an interesting conversation about instinctive marketing, and it's all part of the Dell Podference series, which I will talk to you about next week. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and leave a review on your favorite podcast app, where you will find 595 more chats with successful business owners. Be sure to grab a copy of my book, The Boomerang Effect, over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, only if you want to create helpful marketing and grow your business. Don't buy it if you don't. This show was edited by the amazing Alex Amster, the music bed written, sung, and produced by rockstar Lockie Doley, and made possible by the good people at Dell and Fun Escapes who genuinely care about us small business owners. Thank you, Dell and Fun Escapes. And also, thank you to you for tuning in. May your marketing be the absolute best marketing. Bye for now.